Trust is built in small moments. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had someone break your trust, not with a dramatic betrayal, but in the tiniest of ways? Maybe they said, "You can count on me," but didn't show up. Maybe they promised they wouldn't share your story, but later you heard it from someone else. Maybe it wasn't even what they did, but what they didn't do, that hurt the most. Trust isn't lost overnight, and it isn't built overnight either. Trust is made in small moments, in quiet gestures, in staying after the meeting to check in a text that says, "Just thinking of you." It's built cup by cup, word by word, choice by choice. Today I want to talk about what trust is really made of, not just a feeling, but a set of actions and behaviors. I want to talk about what makes us say, "I feel safe here, I feel seen here, I can be myself." And to do that, we'll explore the 7 elements of trust, but instead of just naming all 7, I'm going to walk you through 5 core pillars that make trust feel real and alive in our lives. Let's begin. Point 1. Boundaries, the invisible walls that protect relationships. Trust starts with boundaries. It's knowing what's okay and what's not okay, and communicating it clearly. Let me tell you a story. A friend of mine, Lila, used to say yes to everything. She wanted to be liked. She wanted to help. But inside, she was burning out. She would take calls at midnight, work weekends, agree to favors she didn't have the bandwidth for. One day, she said, "No, I can't help with that right now. I need time for myself." The person on the other end got upset, but something powerful happened. Layla realized that the people who truly respected her would honor her boundaries, not resent them. Boundaries are not walls to shut people out. They are fences with gates that say, "Here's what I can offer, and here's what I need to stay whole." Without boundaries, we build resentment, and where there's resentment, trust dies. Setting a boundary is one of the most trust-building acts you can do, for yourself and for others. Point 20. And reliability. Do what you say. Again and again. Here's a truth we often forget. We don't need perfect people to trust. We need reliable ones. Reliability is showing up, over and over. It's not about heroic effort. It's about consistent effort. Think about someone you trust. It's probably not the person who said they'd do everything and save the world. It's the one who kept their word, even when it was inconvenient. I once worked with a team leader who said something I'll never forget. "I'd rather you commit to less and deliver than overpromise and disappear," because reliability is rooted in realistic expectations. And when we show up consistently, people feel safe. They don't have to guess. They don't have to chase. They know you'll do what you said, even if that thing is calling them back on Tuesday. Trust grows when we show up without fanfare, without drama, and without fail. Point 3. Accountability. Owning our stories, even the messy ones. Here's a hard one. What do you do when you mess up? Because we all mess up. The real question is, do you own it? Or do you dodge, deflect, or defend? Accountability says, "Yes, I did that. I was wrong. And I want to make it right." When we mess up, and we will, the fastest way to rebuild trust is not through excuses, but through truth. Let me share something personal. A while ago, I forgot to follow through on a promise I made to a close colleague. It wasn't huge, but it mattered to her. Instead of pretending I was too busy, I picked up the phone and said, "You trusted me and I let you down. I'm really sorry. How can I make this right?" There was silence. And then she said, "Thank you." That meant a lot. The mistake wasn't erased, but the trust began to rebuild. Accountability is humbling, but it's also liberating. When we own our actions, we become trustworthy not because we're perfect, but because we're honest. Point 4. The vault. Can I trust you with my story? This one is sacred. The vault is about confidentiality. It's not just not gossiping. It's respecting what's not ours to share. We all have that one person who says, "Don't tell anyone." But what we don't realize is when they tell us someone else's secret, we start to wonder, do they do that with mine too? Trust evaporates. But when someone guards your story like it's their own heart, you feel something deep inside: safety. I had a friend who went through a painful divorce. She told a few of us about it, but not everyone. When someone outside our circle asked about it, we simply said, "That's not my story to tell." That's the vault. Keeping confidence, honoring silence, protecting what's sacred. When people know their story is safe with you, they'll trust you not just with their words, but with their wins. Point 50. Generosity. Choosing grace over assumption. Finally, let's talk about generosity, not financial, but emotional generosity. It means this: when someone says something hurtful, or forgets, or seems distant, You pause and think, what's the most generous assumption I can make here? Maybe they're overwhelmed. Maybe they didn't mean it that way. Maybe they're hurting. It doesn't mean excusing harm. It means starting with curiosity instead of conclusion. I once had a teammate miss a major meeting. I was angry. I felt disrespected. But instead of accusing her of being careless, I messaged her gently, "Hey, are you okay?" She replied, "I'm so sorry. My father was taken to the hospital. I completely forgot. I feel awful." That moment changed our relationship. Because I chose generosity over judgment, I gave space for truth and trust. Generosity invites connection. It creates room for mistakes and growth. And in a world quick to cancel, blame, and assume, it's one of the most radical trust-building acts we can practice. Trust grows where we're brave enough to nurture it. Trust isn't built on grand gestures. It's built in the mundane, the messy, the daily. It's saying what you mean. It's honoring someone's no. It's apologizing without defending. It's keeping stories sacred. It's offering grace when your ego wants to attack. If we want to build trust with our partners, our teams, our children, and ourselves, we don't need perfection. We need compassion. We need consistency. The 7 elements of trust aren't abstract, they're actions. Start today, one small moment at a time. Because trust is earned not in the big things, but in the way we show up for the little ones.